The Rugby Hive is proud to deliver content through international 7 to 15 players and coaches, but we're also here to highlight people making a difference in their respective industries that help our sport. And with that in mind, I'm joined today by Doctor Michael Hutchison, creator of the PowerPlus Mouthguards. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, firstly, it's brilliant to have you, and I know you're such a busy man. Let's start with your background as a doctor.
Well, I graduated dental school in 1987 and been practicing ever since. I practiced in Chicago for about 12 years, and then I moved up to Paradise up here in northern Michigan. I've been here for 24 years, so still practicing. It's my lunchtime right now, and so I'll be back at it in just a little bit.
Well, good. We'll let you get back to it soon, but let's go to the idea. How did you start with the PowerPlus Mouthguards? How did it come about, and how did you find rugby as well?
Well, I was working with what's termed TMJ syndrome. People might be familiar with that. It's headaches, neck pain, back pain, migraines, and it's all generated from jaw muscles. And the conventional way that we were taught to treat it and manage it was just not working. It just doesn't really work. It's pretty arbitrary. And so back in the year 1999, 2000, I started to look for different avenues that I could make a better difference. And I started working with what we call neuromuscular principles. It's a muscular-based approach. And I found that that's really the way the body works, and began to cure, if you will, TMJ in patients. And the interesting thing that brought me to develop this mouth guard was that people would say that they were stronger and they felt they had more energy after their problem was resolved. And that seemed very interesting to me. My background is highly in sports. My dad was an exercise physiologist at Iowa State University, and we spent a lot of time at a lot of different sporting events. He had tickets to everything, and we went to wrestling and football and basketball and volleyball. We went to all the games as a kid. And so I thought, well, you know, at the time here in Michigan, the Detroit Lions were 0-9. And I thought, well, man, if I could make Mrs. Jones stronger, what would happen if I took the front line of the Detroit Lions and made them 25% stronger? They'd win the Super Bowl and I'd be a genius. So I started to investigate, and I came up with a mouth appliance that utilized those principles. Call it mandibular physiologic rest position, or physiologic rest position for short. Utilizing those principles, I was able to demonstrate a 15 to 25% increase in strength. And actually, one of the biomedical engineering departments here in Michigan and at Wayne State actually studied it and wrote a paper and showed that you could increase strength on the average by 16.8% by utilizing physiologic jaw position. So I started testing it, and another thing came falling from the sky when I started testing it, that people that I tested, and I tested 100 boys, high school boys playing football, American football, and none of those boys had a concussion. They were all, as a team, average 25% stronger, but for 6 years, there was no concussions on those boys that wore physiologic jaw positioning mouth guards. So naturally, that made it not only performance enhancing discovery, but something that actually you can do right now to reduce the chance of a concussion down to 0.2%. We've tested over 7,000 athletes, and we've had 9 concussions total. That's 0.2% concussion rate. That's almost zero when we've got a concussion rate out there right now of 20%, basically. This is what makes this discovery so important, is that every day there's kids having concussions and there's no answer except for the principles of physiologic jaw position.
Wow, that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And that's why I love your background and how you came to this. Now, how did you find rugby? There must be a connection to the sport of rugby because you tested originally with the football players.
Right. Well, rugby, just another thing that just kind of fell into my lap. My son played American football, as I said. He was a fullback and a linebacker. And he had a friend that was on an exchange program from South Africa, and he played rugby. And here in town, they have a club rugby sport. And he dragged my son out mainly because my son had a car and he didn't. He dragged him out and got him on the rugby team. And he just took to it and really became really good at it. And so I was introduced to rugby at the time, and standing on the sidelines, I'm thinking these kids need physiologic jaw position. So I went to the coach and I talked to him, and of course, all the kids have come ever since. In the subsequent teams, I've been outfitting all the rugby kids for the last 10 years because the coach of the club sport here has won a few state championships, and he played rugby for Michigan State University. So rugby just kind of became a natural thing for this type of device because they don't normally wear mouth guards in rugby, but they do have quite a few concussions. And so it's been a really good partnership that I've worked with all these rugby boys over the last 10 years.
Yeah, it certainly has. And there's a lot of collisions in the sport. That's why it's quite similar to football. So give us your brief answer. Why do you believe everyone should be wearing your PowerPlus mouth guards?
Well, because the mouth guard that's out there that everybody's wearing that you can purchase in the store and that's familiar to everyone is 71 years old in its design and structure. It was really designed to, as a result of some Notre Dame football players that were breaking their teeth playing football. Back then, they didn't have, in 1950, they didn't have face masks. They didn't use mouth guards. And they were getting hit and their teeth were banging together and they were breaking. So some ingenious doctors came up with the design for a mouth guard that cushioned your jaw when they banged together. They didn't have any clue about physiologic jaw position or anything like that. And that wasn't even the purpose. The purpose was just to keep you from banging your teeth together. And it does a pretty good job. Anything between your teeth is going to cushion your teeth from that type of fracture force. But that's it. We've got this 20% concussion rate over the last 50 years, and it hasn't changed, even though the equipment, the helmets, tackling, all these things that we've tried to lower the concussion rate, even legislatures trying to ban the sport, which is really the only way you can prevent every concussion is to not play, right? But that's no fun. So this is why it's so important, because the PowerPlus Mouthguard is the only one out on the market and will be the only one for the next 10 years or so because of the patent on it that actually puts your jaw in its physiologic jaw position, cushions your teeth from being fractured, of course, because it's a piece of plastic between your teeth, but it also puts your jaw in that physiologic jaw position that separates the joint and doesn't translate the G forces up to your brain and dissipates them out to the rest of your body and drops your concussion incidence down to 0.2%. So it's a no-brainer. Why would you wear any other kind of device that gives you 20% concussions when you can wear a physiologic jaw positioning appliance that gives you almost zero?
Yeah, doctor, and that's exactly what you're so right. It is a no-brainer, and why we wanted to talk to you today to get that information out to people. And you've got some players that are wearing them currently and testing them out in the professional arena. Can you give us some of those names?
Well, I do have a few players. I've done a lot of work in the South Pacific. I've outfitted quite a few teams in Samoa and Tonga, the women's rugby teams in those countries. We got Kelly McGill from the Tomahawks. I got Ryan James from LA's professional team. David Nui, who's an icon in rugby from I think he's from New Zealand, I believe, has been in rugby a long time. And Patrick Madden, San Diego team. And now on our USA team, we got Hanco. We have quite a few people that are, using this in rugby at the present time.
That's so great. And Hanco Germishuys will be involved, as you said, for the US national team and has been, and also playing in the Major League Rugby playoffs in the Eastern final. I'll be commentating that game, so I'm sure to give his mouthguard and his whole body a good message from us as well there. And then finally, of course, where do people get information and how do they buy your brilliant product?
You can go to PowerPlusMouthguard.com and you can order it online there, and it'll come right to your house. It usually takes 2 to 3 days. There's lots of good information on there about, increased strength and balance and oxygen intake and concussion reduction. So all the information that you might want to look at. And then it's easy as just ordering up the color you want. It's one size that adapts to everyone. So it's not real complicated. It does have to be fitted correctly. You can't just boil and bite into it. That's not what physiologic jaw position is. You need to swallow into it to let your autonomic or involuntary nervous system take over and put your jaw in that special position as the material is cooling down. So you need to follow the instructions. You need to watch the video, but it's easy. You just go on and order one up and it'll come to your house.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us. Fantastic to have your knowledge benefit our sport of rugby in particular, which is what is so fascinating. And when Hanco scores and knocks down 5 or 6 people, I need to say he's scarier than a dentist appointment.
There you go. He's scarier than a dentist appointment.
Thanks very much, great. Doc, for everything you do.
Thank you very much. Good talking to you. Take care.